esports, right? This is my thought about it. Absolutely network. Networking is so important, right? If you're trying to break into the industry, even if you're in the industry and you want to meet new people, that's all super helpful. I think in that video before I talked about this where you'd rather network to get a job rather than applying for jobs. You know, you bypass the whole submit your resume. I mean, you probably still would have to submit your resume for most jobs, even after you make that network, but that's still going to help because it's going to be a formality and they're going to give you something it's going to give them something to look at your resume, right? So absolutely network. So how do you actually cold call people / DM people? First of all, you would never call someone in esports, especially out of the blue, right? But you can slide into people's DMs. I think that's perfectly fine. I think Twitter is the place for DMs. Absolutely, 100%, right? And then there's other ways you can do this. Go to someone's stream. You can go to someone's stream. You could, LinkedIn is, I think, something really, really big because LinkedIn has like very little traffic. But people are there for business stuff. If I get a Twitter DM, I usually answer it because I don't get that many. Let's say you're someone that's super, super busy that gets 20 Twitter DMs every day. Suddenly you look at their LinkedIn, they probably get one a day. So that's somewhere else that you can actually get in contact with someone, right? And there's other places like, where would another place be? I'm forgetting. Oh, Instagram DMs. Instagram DMs are okay too, right? Now, how would you actually go? How to do it, right? How would you actually approach cold calling or DMing someone, right? I think don't do what you don't want to do. You do not want to just go and be like, hey, I have a question. Can I ask you a question? That is one of the most annoying things you can do because you have my attention. You may or may not have my attention, right? But either way, I'm probably going to say yes or ignore you. What you want to do is get straight to the point, especially when they're busy, and do not send a wall of text. If you're going to send me a wall of text, if you're going to send anyone a wall of text, they might ignore it, right? And usually when you send a wall of text, that means that you don't exactly know what you're asking and what you need. And I also, or the person receiving it, does not know exactly what you're looking for and what you're asking. If you send me 3 paragraphs and the first paragraph is like, because you want to get a job in esports, and the first paragraph is like, you know, I've been passionate about esports since I was 5. I've been playing games since Super Mario World on the SNES, and it's changed my life. Second paragraph, you know, now I'm in college, and blah. That person doesn't have time to probably read your life story. And your life story, like, even though you think, yeah, we've all been playing games. Even though you think that is important, your history is important to explaining like what your question is. It probably isn't. So a big key indicator when you send me a wall of text or send someone, I keep saying, I'm going to just talk about me. I can't talk about other people's experiences. When you send me a wall of text, it's just saying that like you haven't exactly thought out what you're asking and you don't know what you're trying to ask or what you're looking for, right? Let's say you send me, hi, I'm trying to start a podcast, but but I've never done it before. Do you have any recommendations on hosting platforms? Did you hear that? There's like a dog just like freaked out. Actually, I would say, hi, I'm trying to start a podcast, and I know you're the best at it. I've never done it before, and was hoping you might have some recommendations for hosting platforms. formatting in Notepad. Never it before. And then this is the funny part. This is what happens when you draft. Warmlax is pointing it out. When you draft DMs, like you have to really think about it because again, you want every word to count. You don't want to just come off like, hey, blah blah blah. I'm doing this half-assedly, and I'm just contacting you off a whim because I'm too lazy to do work. And then I draft it, and then I don't fix it. I've never podcasted before, and was hoping you might have some recommendations for hosting platforms. So this is something direct, and this is a very simple ask. I can respond to this. Super quickly. I can be like, oh yeah, I would recommend Anchor if you're looking for something free. I recommend this to like 95% of people's situations. If you're really looking for something robust, I would look at like I've worked with blueberry.com. I've heard Libsyn's really, really great, but I haven't podcasted in like 2 years, but really start with Anchor, and then you could always just transfer the platform when you feel like you need something else, right? And then you have my attention. We have like some type of relationship. I would say, yeah, because for the most part, people want to help. And you're doing something simple that I can just respond to right away. Dweeb is asking, should I connect with as many relevant esports people on LinkedIn as possible? I say Twitter is the most important place. And then I really don't know about LinkedIn. I know it's important. Like if I was in engineering, I'd be on LinkedIn. I have all like my coworkers on LinkedIn or whatever, right? But now LinkedIn is still a good place, but I don't really know how much like, Zoomers and millennials are actually like working on LinkedIn and esports. I have no idea. That being said, if you see someone active on LinkedIn that is relevant to you, I would absolutely connect with them. Even just following them to see what they're like, because it's just going to give you a better chance and better understanding of that person. So why not? If you have the time, go for it. Like connect with as many people as you can, right? And people have asked me like to connect and like, hey, can we talk? And it works. So I definitely think connecting with so many people, everyone and anyone you can, and have like real connection. Do not be self-serving. At least hide it well. Right? If I'm connecting because I want something from you, and purely that, and then you're gonna throw me, and then I'm gonna like ignore you and not care about you after that, that is obvious and it's not good. I don't just try to connect to people to get something from them. And when you do, like you're gonna have a not really valuable relationship. Versus if you guys are able to connect, have a professional rapport, or become like good friends, like suddenly that's when like, because I've worked with Harry, and like we're not like best friends or anything. We've talked and we've had a professional relationship. I'm able to like recommend him stuff, or I'm able to continue looking for work for him, or internally with Golden Guardians, because he was trying to provide me value. When he first reached out to me, he just created an intro for a series. He's like, hey, I thought this might be a better intro. I was like, whoa, cool. And that was interesting. And then we started communicating, and because he was like, yeah, I'm looking for work, but I want to like make you something. So it wasn't just about him. So when you reach out to people, don't make it just about you, right? But again, simple asks. I think that's a big thing. And I would also say, like, know something about the person. One thing that is a big turnoff is when people like reach out and they ask me questions about something that I have no control over, right? And I'm pretty forgiving about that. Like, it doesn't bother me that much, depending on the situation. But I think someone reached out to me recently. He's like, hey, I wanted to learn about social media stuff. I just got a job, and I wanted to pick your brain about things. And the way it came off was really, really nice, so it didn't bother me at all. But I'm like, oh, I don't do social media management. I just make the social videos, but I can connect you to the right person. But they came to me with a purpose, and they at least knew that I worked with Golden Guardians, right? When people come to me like, hey, you know, man, I can't think of an example off the top of my head. But when people come to, hey, you know, I wanted to get your opinion on esports stuff. I'm like, okay. And like, yeah, what do you do? I'm like, oh, you know, they don't even like see my Twitter profile. They don't see that I'm a marketing analyst or anything like that. They don't know like content I've done. So then that feels off. And then I have to like spend time explaining myself, holding their hand. And it's just like suddenly this networking thing has become a lot more work for me, right? So I always think like when I'm asking someone for something, I have to make it as easy for the person that I'm asking to get it done for me. You would think that, Crispy, right? You're reaching out. At least you've seen the Twitter bio. No, like some people have reached out, be like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's doing that." Yeah, sure. What's up? It's like, "How do you get into esports?" Um, that's the big question. What do you? Then I have to ask like, "Oh yeah, what do you want to do? What is your situation?" Because I go to their Twitter profile and it says like something random, like memes. Like it doesn't say anything about the person, right? Oh, I would say when you are another thing, make sure your profile is up to date. If you're DMing me on Twitter and I don't know, I can't figure out who you are and what you need from me, that doesn't help either. If your Twitter profile is just like you complaining about bad teams in the LCS and complaining about Golden Guardians, and then you reach out to me like, hey, I want a job with the Golden Guardians, like that doesn't feel right. So make sure like you're wherever you're contacting me, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, like make sure it's like at least somewhat up to date and makes sense. Yeah, where I'm like, I'm not knocking memes, I make memes. Okay, for example, this guy, his Twitter profile says like for hire social media wizard, right? So if this guy contacted me, I like know like, oh, this is what he's looking for. This is who he is. If I find some other random person, oh, for example, this is like a good profile. I click on the profile and it says just a regular nerd. I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything. Like that's seriously a personal profile that like you and your friends have, you know? I can't tell anything about this person. But if you're using Twitter for networking, like I need to know something about this person. Oh, are they a YouTuber? There's a link. Oh, if I see like their Twitch link, I'm like, oh, they're a streamer. And then I can go and like, what do they stream? Oh, you know, they stream to like 1,000 people. Wow, that's crazy. Or they stream to like 5 people and they actually have a community in Discord. Like, oh, okay. So this person's like at that part of their journey, right? Oh, let's look at, you want to look at yours, Alec? Let's look at your Twitter profile. Okay, so you got Lord of the Rings. That's cool. Got a silly picture. You got a Twitch link. Yeah, I have no idea like what you're about, right? And this is perfectly fine if it's like your personal like Twitter, and that's probably what you're thinking about, right? But if you're looking to get into esports, maybe talk about like, oh, LCS fanatic, blah blah blah, and I can like scroll through and see more things and learn more things. But this is like, if you're trying to represent yourself on Twitter, this doesn't show who you are really, unless I have to like look, I have to dig. If it's all just right here, this is kind of like the executive summary on a resume. Like, what's the first impression you want to make? And this is your first impression. Oh, also, by the way, you could totally ask for a cup of coffee. Again, like pre or post COVID. People have asked me, and I think I've grabbed like beers and coffees with people before. Cool. Yeah. And again, I would not to be like self promoting, although, no, I can self promote. Go check out this video. Oh, no. Okay. It's gone. This video. I'll put it in chat.